I just got three things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your engine!
Welcome to Pistons and Politics, coming to you live from Pacoima, California. My co-hosts Brian Armbrust and Ed Goodman are traveling today, so let's have them go ahead and come on in and join me in whatever way they can.
Oh, hi.
Hey.
Greetings programs.
What's up, bots? Hey! Look at that! That was very clever how that all worked out.
You said traveling, and
Yeah.
probably thought.
They thought that you guys were like somewhere else, but they traveled here. So they're here in the lovely climes and environs of Pacoima, California, and we are all together this night, lubricated by
Bardog.
Bardog,
Red wine
which is actually pleasantly good.
from 2018.
Pleasantly good.
Made in
It's
California.
pleasantly good. This is like 2018. Oh, he's having the sparkling water. So we are here to bring you some thoughts. One of the things that was really fun was that we actually got together tonight and we went out to MB2. MB2 is an electric indoor go-karting spot, and we had fun. We had a good time.
It was good.
The thing was that now Brian and I, of course, have done an awful lot of this type of thing. Ed has not, and what was fun to discover was that Ed had a lot of speed in his pocket.
I got speed in my pocket, people.
which is honestly, I was saying this is not untrue.
There's a wallet and phone in there as well.
Yeah, I brought a lot of people go-karting, quite a few, and introduced them to the sport. And Ed actually has had the most natural speed of anybody that I've placed in a go-kart for the first time.
Let me tell you something about racing. You gentlemen might not know. Speed just doesn't mean keeping the foot on the pedal the whole time.
Right? No, it doesn't.
That's what I did. So maybe.
Well, maybe it's just about the size of his cojones and his,
Sir.
This
right.
episode brought to you by Ed's Cojones.
Sir. Sir.
That sounds like an awesome restaurant that I'd like to eat at.
No.
No, Ed's Cojones. Ed's
Oh,
Cojones.
have y'all not ordered from Ed's Cojones yet?
Have you guys? Listen, DoorDash delivers from Ed's Cojones.
You don't even have to go. Ed's Cojones can come to you.
This episode really is brought
really
to you by
is, yeah. But it's kicking in. It's kicking in.
Yeah.
But
As is the jet lag.
in all seriousness, Ed even persevered through a vicious attack by his household cat.
Yes.
And so this is really quite special. On the real, it is Juneteenth today, and that is quite something. This is the first year that I've had this off as a federal holiday at my job. Did you have it off as well from your job?
I'm not sure if I did last year or not. It's
So-
possible, but either
Okay.
way, it's a relatively new addition to our lives.
Right, and I think what a cool thing to celebrate people being emancipated in reality by force.
Imagine that.
Imagine that, free
Huh.
people being freed. Anyway, that is, I mean, in all seriousness, a really excellent step forward. I think we can possibly agree on that.
I think so.
Yeah.
And so happy about that.
Soup's so woke. It's upsetting.
It's terrible, terribly woke. But here's the thing: when people accept woke a little bit more when they get the day off.
Huh.
You
Whether
see?
you like
I think
it or
maybe
not.
this is the secret. Maybe this is the secret. You're like, hey, listen, it's not just Gay Pride Month. It's
Right.
you don't have to fucking work the
Everybody
whole
gets a
month.
day off.
And everyone's like, I love gay people. Such a thing.
Or,
I mean, seriously,
or you work for free for 8 hours, and there's your contribution. Good for you.
there you go. I mean, yeah, you would get OT the whole month.
This
You get
episode brought
oatmeal.
to you by 3 white men.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
I ate at that restaurant too.
Are they, isn't
Oh,
there
yeah.
already 5?
There are 5 guys.
There is 5 guys. There is 5 guys. No, but there might be something to that though.
3 guys.
To wrap like
Discount. Everything's 3/5 the price. And bringing in
Oh.
another.
oh shit.
Oh,
Oh, God.
oh,
All right.
yeah.
Now we have to start over.
And on
Now we have
on
to start over.
June,
Everyone,
Yeah.
it's canceled.
on Juneteenth, everything is 3/5 off. Right?
It's freaking horrible. Stop.
It's just math. We're
Stop.
just doing the math.
Okay, stop.
I'm trying to find us online.
That actually wasn't even intentional.
No, but see,
Okay.
it's the jet lag and the travel. And
All right.
this episode brought to you by jet lag and
Alcohol.
apologies to
No,
everyone
but-
involved.
Okay, no, but in all
That was that
in
was
all
not
seriousness, there does not seem to be a whole lot of kickback on Juneteenth.
Not yet.
And I'm really
Not till they figure out why they got to stay home today.
well, but I mean, I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, this is possibly I mean, this is a good development, right? I think this is a freaking good development.
We should enjoy it before it's rescinded, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Before it's outlawed.
And my
the next
favorite
president. Yeah,
my favorite race team threw out a thing about it today, and they have a slogan, "Forward Together," which I think is a constructive and cool way to approach race relations in this country. If I'm allowed to have an opinion about it, that that we're going forward together, we can work together to heal things, and there it is. See that? There it was right there. There's like a flag and all that stuff.
Yeah.
See, it says "Forward, celebrating freedom for all, forward together."
Yes.
I mean, that's freaking dope.
It's pretty great.
And I didn't know the story until like when this became a conversation 2 years ago. I didn't know the story of Juneteenth, so
No.
I'm glad to know it.
I just learned the story of, I believe it's, I'm going to get it wrong. I don't even want to start down this road. I'm going to get it wrong. But another episode from American history that you've never heard about that's terrible.
Yeah.
Sweet. That was great.
Another city
Way to
where
lead a horse to Big
You talking
Dog.
about Tulsa?
I'm trying. No,
Maybe?
but no.
Because that's the end of
There's
May.
one in North Carolina that
Oh,
was
okay.
same deal basically. Like we've had it. This successful section of the community that's run by that's primarily African American making it. We're going to put an end to that.
Yeah.
And it's but yeah.
Did you know-
we never learned about these?
Okay,
things.
but I didn't. And I also knew, like, and this is actually legitimately something that I learned from 23XI was their first year when they raced at the Charlotte 600 on Memorial Day.
Right.
His car was awesome. It was a really amazing livery. I don't think they ever made the car like so you could purchase it, but it was about the origins of Memorial Day. The origins of Memorial Day
Yeah.
were also rooted in the African American community.
Yep.
And I never, ever was
I
told
remember
that.
talking to you about that last
Yeah.
year. Yeah.
And that was,
Yeah.
I mean, it was amazing. So anyway, all right, thanks 23XI.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that's
guys.
cool.
You educated me a little bit, and I'm happy to be educated.
Definitely.
Let's talk some racing. Well, first of all, hold on. I want to get Ed. Ed is fresh off the track. Fresh off a fairly competitive track tonight. I mean, for an arrive and drive spot, it was like not atrocious, although there was a terrible accident right as we were leaving.
Yeah. Somebody ran over themselves.
People trying to measure up and
Yeah,
like,
they
they gotta
couldn't-
know what
they
you're doing.
They couldn't match up to Ed though.
They couldn't, but and you know what? How happy are they that they had the freaking roll hoop thing?
Yeah. Yep.
So there's a debate in go-karting about the kind of ugly roll hoop thing that sits over the top of the driver in many arrive and drive racetracks. Save someone from some pretty severe injury tonight, probably.
Yeah.
They flipped the car.
Yeah.
They flipped the cart.
Yes.
I didn't even occur to me as I was smoking in the field. By the way, I predicted this because there's a phenomenon we know with this. It's the opposite.
Your excellence. You're pretty.
Well, I don't want to talk about me, but let's talk about me. What's the word? What's the word they use it in lasso that you don't talk about? It's the cold streak. It's called, they have a word for it.
Fight Club.
No, you know what I'm talking about, where he thinks he killed the dog. Well, he kills
Oh,
the
yes,
dog,
yes.
and then he's like, football is not life. Football is death.
Yeah.
And they call it something, and they say, don't call it that. This
I don't
isn't a
remember.
sports
I
thing
don't, but
that
anyway, go
all
ahead.
sports
All
people
right.
name.
Anyway.
Okay. So there's an opposite thing, which is first time.
Oh, yeah.
So the first time I played tennis, I beat the dude who was
Got you.
It's a beginner's
Teaching
one.
me.
I mean,
You're right, yeah.
you didn't
there's
beat us.
the first time. No,
Let's just get that. Let's get that
Right.
straight.
Right.
Let's get that super straight.
But
Did not beat us really.
the first time
at
I
all.
played
Okay,
golf,
good.
the
You were
same
very
thing
bad.
is like, wait a minute, and I've read neuroscience about physics about this. You've been watching it so long, or you know enough so much that your body has already kind of figured out how to do it. And so you go out and you do it. And then the second time, which is why my second race
That is
was-
exactly what I told you.
was
Isn't it?
was
That's
worse.
exactly what I told you.
Because you think, oh, okay, I think I know what I'm doing, but you don't, and you add this mental thing, and the mental thing is what screws us up in
Exactly,
life
exactly.
anyway. If we were talking about this today in the park, because we were talking about Ethan's sort of natural pitch stance.
Yeah.
He's throwing a ball, and like he looks like the way he's like,
Yeah.
and then the speed, and it's like, well, it comes naturally. Your arm will naturally do that if you don't think about it.
Yeah.
But then we get into this whole thing. It's like,
So
well,
you
the
start
more I
thinking
know
about it.
about it, the better I'll be. And oftentimes that you have to then go through a longer
Yep.
arc, and you might come out better, but you might not. And it might be, or it just might, I'll never race again. This is what I'm getting down.
Right,
I'm
right,
never
right.
going to do it
He's
again.
Right.
He hit the half court shot.
Yeah,
He hit
right.
the half court shot.
Never
Never
touch a
go
ball
again.
again.
Right, forget it.
It's out.
First time I
Long story
had
short.
him golfing, he hit a birdie, and he was like, "That's done. I'm
That's
done."
it.
I never did.
That was
Ralph
it.
never. He's literally never.
I'm the
golfed
best at
So-
golf. I'm the best at
So wait,
soccer. I'm the best at it.
All right. So, but here's the thing, man. So you're, I think it'd be cool, just to describe. What'd you think? I mean, like, what was that, like? What are your takeaways from going to like an arrive and drive go-karting deal and racing
and hitting like roughly 30, maybe 35 miles an hour.
Yeah, because we were just basically doing
Yeah.
35.
These are go-karts.
Yeah.
Is what we were talking about here.
Yeah.
We're not talking about actual cars.
Yeah.
But so I have done a lot of driving in my time, and a lot of it is open driving, like speed driving, Kansas open highway,
Yeah.
or maneuver driving, such as Laurel Canyon here in Los Angeles, California, which is a windy, challenging downhill run. But I drove a Volvo, which is built for this stuff. So I would push to see what this, and driving a Volvo down Laurel Canyon in the middle of the afternoon when there's no one around is pretty great, because the way I describe it, y'all have different words for it, but you shoot the curves, which is like you just cut straight through, and you're going over the line, but there's no one around, and there's plenty of space anyway. And I'm in a Volvo, and I can get out of the way. And you never.
Volvos are also very safe.
I was gonna say, and someday he'll drive not a Volvo through there, and he'll have a hell of a lot
I
better time.
couldn't do it, but because that's all I ever drove.
Sure,
So I
sure.
know Volvos really well.
Yeah, right.
Unlike the cart today, which I was like, what? Okay, this, all right, go, anyway. But when I saw that configuration, that's what I thought Laurel Canyon. And then I thought, oh, well, this is driving. I know how to drive. I don't know how to drive, like when I get into it. Once you get into it, people are bumping you and like, wait, but there's a whole other element to it, but it's still just driving. So your natural tendencies, because I've always,
Well, let me say your natural tendencies.
Correct.
Because what often happens, and this has happened with people that I've brought racing, and also people that I just observed racing, people that have flown by me at 100 miles an hour in their like freaking SUV or whatever on the way to the track, have gotten into a go-kart and they're like
Lost.
They're lost. They're like going 5 miles an hour, like literally, like afraid out of their skull. They have no
We're just
idea.
making weird
So-
decisions that don't make any sense to the natural.
so it's just weird. It's like a weird transition, and Ed made this transition very successfully today. Go on describing, sir.
Well, it might also be that if you drive an SUV and that's what you're used to, and then you're driving this thing, which isn't like an SUV.
Right.
It is, but it's not. But I've
It
driven
has 4 wheels on it.
all,
yes.
and that's about it, right. And a steering wheel.
5
But
wheels.
I've
can, you,
driven.
can you do the steering again for the audience? There you go.
This-
Okay,
that's the key.
when you race go-karts, this is how you do it. It's like you're like it's like you're
It's like
milking-
we call it milking the cow. That's what we call it in the business.
down the straight.
Like, you would know that.
It's like a green screen. They put a green screen behind. Really, what they do is they put the green screen behind, and you just pretend.
Wee.
Yeah,
But I've driven like all kinds of things. I've driven tractors and trucks and forklifts and big trucks and bigger trucks and moving vans and like all kinds of. So you
Anything that's not performance based, you've driven. Basically.
yes,
Right.
but you realize like okay, this is what
tractor. Actually, the stuff you learned in a tractor actually made sense to it.
well you learn like
Yeah.
okay, this is what the give is on the
Yeah,
steering
right.
wheel. This is how hard because y'all are talking about how it's electric. So there's a little like okay, you figure so you just kind of get used to how it drives pretty quickly. It's like a moving van. It's like as soon as you get the moving van, you take it around the block for a spin before you put a ton of gear in the back to get
Well,
where it
again,
feels
you,
like.
again, you do. And see, isn't it?
So there's and
Yeah.
some important distinctions here. So Ed uses no. So in all seriousness, I used to work at an indoor karting track, and when you work there and you're there day in and day out, and you're not just racing, you're there seeing the normal public walking in, and you see some of the incidents that happen, and you see some of the ways that people are bringing in what they do on the road to a racing environment.
Mm.
And there are times where I just had to like cradle my head because I was like, how is it possible that you're even doing that? Like it makes so little sense because like you're this is why Jeremy and I said that you have some natural speed, because you seem to have there's just a natural tendency that you kind of understand the physics to it, for lack of a better term. And there are people that really truly don't. I mean, I saw people that would, how a lot of people will drive with one hand a lot of times on the road. And I would see people that were just so determined to drive with one hand, but they're driving on a go-kart that has no power steering. So that they're having to like really like wrench the wheel over, and they would like put their hand. I'm not joking when I say this. I saw a lady come in and, because she was having to like work so hard to move her hand around on the wheel to make it around these tight little corners on an indoor kart track, she moved her right hand over to the left side of the wheel. And after that got tiring, after a couple of laps with this no power steering kart, she ended up putting her left hand on the right side of the wheel
What?
and drove X-wing
What?
style. This is the kind of thing, I'm not joking. And there was another occasion, these are my two favorite stories, then I'll drop it. But like there was another occasion where we had a lady that was waiting in line. We had a line for our next door pits. And so she's watching the racing. She's watching the race. She's there probably like 20 minutes or something waiting for her race to start. So the only thing that is there to observe is the track. She's there. And she gets in the cart and she happens to be the first one in the line. She's been watching it and she drives out onto the track. She pulls out of the pits and makes a U-turn and starts going the opposite direction.
Why?
So like you laugh because it just makes there's like, where does that even come from?
Yeah.
But there are people that just don't get it. And that's fine.
Yeah, that's.
But that's
Well, I think in hearing you talk about it, when you're driving tractors and work trucks, let's say, work vehicles,
yeah, right.
and when you're driving a car fast, down low,
It's a
you're
utilitarian, yeah.
really tuned in to what can this thing do? How fast can I? Because I like speeding up in curves.
Sure.
I love the feeling
That's where the fun is.
of the
Yeah.
momentum.
Yeah, right.
But then you got to know how to get out of the curve because you put a lot of, momentum into going that way, and you need to be going this way.
There are consequences to your actions. And
That's
you have
right.
to plan for what happens after the curve.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. So I think that's maybe what it is. It's like the thinking in terms of, okay, how do I operate this machine?
Yeah.
Versus how do I do what I've seen all these other people do? Because when you sit in it, that's you.
Mhm.
And watching you guys zip around, all I remember is your heads going by. I can't do that. I can only do what I know how to do. Just like it's kind of the challenge. I love you get the rental car.
The act of driving.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then
right.
you say, okay, oh my God,
You're
what
but
is this thing?
he's like a top of the C main kind of like his first time out. He's like a top of the
I
C
know.
main.
Yeah. So like, I think
I think
It's-
we're close to it.
I mean, within a couple of races, probably within a couple of weeks or a couple of months, he could have been in. Yeah, like you would have been in D main the first month because that's just what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But like within like 4 to 5 months, you'd be in the C or maybe even
D.
back into the D.
And then making money. Is that what you're telling me?
No, that's not what we're doing.
The future is a race car.
Oh
I
man,
never thought of it.
man, that's like when I came to LA and I was like, hey, if I don't make it as an actor, my backup can
At least
be
you'll-
making it as a race car driver.
Yeah.
I'll just become a pro race car driver.
That's what I was
I
thinking.
just go to the moon and be an astronaut.
So the old, it's to shoot for the stars and land on the moon, right?
So well, what I came here, my plan was to be in. I was like, my goal. In fact, when I wrote cover letters to agents.
Yeah.
And trying to get an agent,
Yeah, right.
and I wrote them, and I said, here's my plan. Like
I want to be Paul Newman.
in 3 years. Well, basically, I said in 3 years, I want to be racing in the Toyota Long Beach. What is it? The
Celebrity race,
the
yeah,
celebrity race at
Yeah.
Toyota Long Beach. And I thought, they take small people, like people you've never heard of, that
Yeah,
are in
sure,
a commercial or some shit.
C-list.
Like, yeah,
stuff.
C-list
C
kind
main,
of-
C
yeah.
main,
They're
C-list.
like, oh, who's that guy? They're like, oh, he made a Purina dog chow,
Yeah.
commercial, but he's driving the Toyota Celica, and that's
Yeah,
what
right.
I thought. I thought that'll be me.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't me.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah,
Right.
still, I've got my eyes on the prize.
And Hollywood is primed for this kind of crossover.
Exactly.
Exciting.
Well, anyway,
Just need to hang out with Casey Cook more often.
that's true, man.
Yeah.
Well, that was freaking amazing, right?
So that's-
hello, Casey, by the way.
Hi,
If you're watching this, which you aren't, but
He's
if you
not,
are,
but maybe someday.
but
So
someday you might.
you used I think a name, C Man,
C main.
I don't know what it is.
So in our racing at Cal Speed that we did, there were enough
And
people
all kinds
that,
of
and
dirt
yeah,
track
and
racing.
lots of kinds of racing. You have the A main, the B main, the C main, and it's kind of exactly there's
Okay.
the comprehension.
C Main.
Yes, so
Yeah.
there's the main race. You have some heats that lead up to it that kind of determine where you're going to
Qualify.
start in the main race, and
Okay.
then obviously the A main is the highest tier, and then all the way down.
It's like Race Wars from Fast and Furious.
Sure,
It's like
sure.
that.
With less gear changes in karts, though.
This has been the longest intro we've ever had.
This is
and
great.
and I've
It's
enjoyed it.
It's great.
I've
It's great.
enjoyed it.
So racing this last week.
Okay, racing. Yeah, racing.
We're gonna
Not a lot of it.
jam through it really fast. So we had Indy
Yeah.
and we had F1. And I think that was
That's all.
really it.
Well, I mean, of course, there's a lot of racing going on, but
There's
those,
plenty, those were the two big
those are the big
ones that were well televised in America at least.
do you want to go?
Gentlemen, I would like to point out that we did start talking.
Yeah, this is true. We did start talking.
I swear to God, I didn't make that joke on purpose. That was not intentional.
Terrible. Terrible. It's terrible.
As soon as I said it, I
You guys-
realized
I mean, you
but
guys are just obsessed with race.
the North Carolina
Racing.
guy obviously was the one that just kept anyway.
I'm obsessed with race and racing and racers. Race.
All the race. Yeah, we're all a
Racist.
bunch of racists,
Right.
and we love.
It's so funny that those two
Man.
words, are so
Yeah.
closely
Okay,
related.
so-
So that's what we're talking about.
Bubba Wallace has a quick. Have you seen it, by the way? Did you watch it yet? Bubba
Oh, the
Wallace's-
Netflix show. No,
Yeah.
I haven't got.
So he has a. You should
You
keep
keep telling
see
me
it.
these things I need to watch.
And if you haven't seen it, you should too. Bubba Wallace. Actually they just won they won an Emmy like 3 weeks ago.
Really?
He's now an Emmy-winning producer.
That's a whole thing. Alright.
Yeah,
Awesome.
for the reality documentary series. Documentary series is what it won for.
Interesting. Wow.
So it won,
that's very
and
cool.
it beat Drive to Survive.
Well, any at this point, anything should beat Travis.
Well, I agree with you, but that's like an insider
That,
like
yeah,
da-da-da-da-da
racing
thing.
third person. Yeah.
Right, but he beat it, and that was pretty exciting for Bubba. And actually, it's interesting because when you watch it, I think we're so adaptable. We were talking about this about being adaptable as humans. Like we're so adaptable, and we're able to just progress forward that you kind of forget how incredibly intense that time was. Like when we were in the pandemic, Black Lives Matter was happening, demonstrations all over
It
the
was
streets.
The
I was
election,
working.
2020 election.
Yeah, I was
All of
working exactly the election. I was working in homeless shelters in like hazmat shit. I mean, we were talking about
Oh,
a
yeah.
very, very dramatic time, and that's where his story in this thing begins. Is in that time, because the Black Lives Matter brought him
Yeah.
forward as an activist, which he had never been before. So
Yeah.
that's the story.
Right, which is an amazing story in and of itself. And from a racing perspective too, it was very odd because the racing series that year in 2020, as with all things business, had to keep going. But obviously there was a pause to everything that year, and
So we killed us a
um,
little bottle of wine.
of course we did.
Holy crap.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that year also on racing wise was very bizarre on top of all of the world events that were taking place.
That's true.
All
right.
Anyway, sorry.
All right. No. What do you mean? I took it there too. So, do you
Racing
want to
this
go?
weekend.
Do you want to go
Yeah.
Formula One? Do you
Yeah,
wanna
let's
go?
start just chronologically, I guess. So F1 was at Montreal this weekend, and in Canada, and the
Fantastic track, by the way.
beautiful track. Interesting. I saw they had a little factoid at the beginning of the race that I hadn't realized. So the island that the track is built on,
Yeah.
is from the refuse from when they built the subway system in the city in Montreal in 1965.
Are you
They
kidding?
built an island out of the rock underneath Montreal, and that's where the track now resides. So, in the middle of the river there. So
That's freaking amazing.
I had no idea. Very cool. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, named after the legendary Ferrari racer. Qualifying was in the wet, which I think was the first full wet qualifying this year, which made it interesting. We had some unexpected folks qualifying different places there.
I'd like to call it.
Sergio, I'm
He
gonna
hasn't even had any water.
gonna move on from that
What's going
comment.
on over here?
I feel unleashed.
He's like, I'm in the presence of two drunk people. I'll say whatever. whatever I want.
Yeah.
So okay, so we're
losing the
on
track there.
No.
Wet track.
wet track,
Uh,
except for Verstappen got out in the,
Nico-
of course,
Nico-
the ultimate time.
Max absolutely murdered it.
Yeah.
Sergio in the other Red Bull continued having some issues this year, and I think on our picks we both thought that he might be on the podium, and he ended up not even being. He just
What?
kind of cruised around and
Well, no, well, kind of. We both picked Verstappen.
right.
I said that a Mercedes would make
Mercedes would make it a nice.
Yeah,
So we were right on our
podium.
predictions.
Absolutely right.
We didn't. I thought that it would be Sergio on the podium. I don't know
Yes.
if you said that specifically, but he
I thought you,
Sergio kind of cruised around and ended up in 6th or 7th.
what's going on with him, by the way?
He's having I don't know what's going on. He's
Do you think he's just lost heart?
I don't know if it's lost heart or if he's just struggling with something with some of the developments on the car, because all the cars go through development cycles through the year. And
Are they
Red
focused
Bull
on
is notorious on focusing on Max and favoring Max all the way since he first started with the team. So that might be part of it, but it's been very quiet too from him, which is interesting.
Super quiet. I don't know what's going on.
Normally-
It's really interesting.
Normally, as when that kind of disparity takes place in a team, there's lots of hubbub about it. There has been a little bit of talk about who. Silence.
Sorry.
We're on.
Hang on.
There's been a.
No, I got it. Excuse me. It's just gonna take me a second. There we go.
So can I read the comments?
Yes.
Sure. So there has been a little bit of rumor mill stuff about who might take over from Sergio. but I don't know. I think that the team is still very happy with him being in number 2 because he's a freaking great number 2 for the team. And he
But is
always.
he happy being a
I
number
don't.
two?
I don't know. I don't know how he feels, but
Who wants to be a number
um,
2 their whole freaking career? Nobody.
well, there have been plenty of those in F1.
Yeah.
And it's not a unrespected role.
Yeah.
I don't think unrespected is technically a word, but you know what I mean. And when you are number 2 on the team, you still get to have a modicum of success. You get to kind of pick up the crumbs, so to speak. We had Barrichello
Yeah,
in
Barrichello
the
won.
years.
He won
of,
quite a few
he
times.
he won a lot of
Yeah.
races,
Yeah, he won a bunch of races.
while when Michael had off times in early 2000s. Mark Webber picked up some stuff when Vettel had some rough times. Bottas picked up some stuff when Lewis had some off races, and as we've already seen, Sergio's won a couple of races too. So I think
What do you think of the budding friendship that's happening on the podium of these races now? What is going on? It's so interesting. It's like really interesting to see.
the best part of like every race is the I think they call it it's the green room basically.
Yeah.
Like after the initial interview. So the race finishes, the commentators interview the drivers. As soon as they get out of the cars, they go to like a little restroom where the drivers get to chill out for a few minutes before they go to the podium. And the best moment of the entire race practically is when the commentators shut up and just turn up the volume on that little green room while the drivers talk to each other about stuff that happened during the race. And this race in particular, we had all of the remaining champions in Formula One. We had Max Verstappen, who won, and Fernando Alonso, who came in second. So two-time champions, and then Lewis, arguably the greatest ever with 7 championships. And they got to just, you had 3 of the best drivers that have ever existed in Formula One all getting to just chat for a moment, which is, you get to see that in the press conferences before the race, but like no moderation, nothing, just
Yeah, just
a
let them hang out.
couple of guys just shooting the shit for a minute.
Hamilton complimented Verstappen's rear end.
I wasn't sure, was it
And-
Max or was it Fernando he was talking about?
No, it was Max at first,
Okay.
and then Fernando was like, "Well,
Of the car.
he's like, I'm getting off the corner pretty well too."
So-
He's like, "No, your rear end's pretty decent, but his is really
It's-
great."
it's
just funny how they.
It is funny he said that because he said that about Sergio in I think it was 2021 when there was the big battle between he and Max, and
Oh, yeah.
there's I think it was at Baku, there was a race where Sergio was able to get out of the corners so much better. Maybe it was Baku, it doesn't matter. He was able to get out of the corners much better than Lewis, and Lewis said on the radio to his team, he's got so much rear end. And so there was a meme that was born from that of the little race picture they show of Sergio, or like during the race they showed the little the drivers always have like a pose or whatever on the so there's a meme that came from this where it was Sergio who was kind of like sitting with his
Yeah.
like anyway.
You know what? Honestly, I'm a Hamilton fan.
Yeah.
I hate his like little card, like that little card. You know what I'm talking about? Like where they.
This thing.
Well, yeah, well, it's the thing where he's like, okay, so like you got Max. Max, like, I'm Max. I'm Max. I'm German.
Which is funny
Right.
because
Right, and then you got Fernando. And Fernando is like, I'm super good looking, like serious dude. And then you got like Hamilton who's like, and it's just the goofiest. I'm like, who has not straightened this out? Because it's been this way for like 2 years. Who has not straightened out the Hamilton like player card where he's like, it's like he's on a runway or something.
so Max
Anyway.
Max is kind of like a modern Kimi a little bit in the sense that
Yeah, he is like that.
just doesn't
But I saw him when
he
he was a
kind of
rookie, dude.
was it the Marshawn Lynch who was like
I'm just
here so I don't
Yeah.
get fined
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Marshawn Lynch,
Like
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
kind of Max's shtick.
Okay, but I saw a video
Mhm.
of Verstappen when he first came into Formula One.
Sure.
The dorkiest,
Oh, he's a baby.
MF, the
And
dorkiest
City
MF
and yeah.
zitty teeth bad, like everything. He's like a goofball, and like the
His
way
first sessions, he was 16 still.
that's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
That's freaking.
His first practice sessions, he got to race for Toro Rosso. He was 16.
Okay, so I saw some video
Or
for
maybe he was 17. Maybe.
and it's amazing what making millions and millions and millions of dollars and winning many Formula One races.
Very good for his mental health.
What that will do for your looks,
Yeah, right.
because he's getting pretty, he's like fairly studly.
Sure.
I mean, don't you think at this point?
And,
And the way he started, I just couldn't even believe. I was like, wait a second, who is that? And it was like, no, this is the dorkiest dude in the
So-
freaking planet, and now he's like world champion.
Max is
Chisel
Max is
stuff.
just like Ed because he's just good at everything that he does.
Well,
And so Max Verstappen is like Ed Goodman. That's what I'm trying to
he
say.
just the first time
You heard it
switched
here.
Does that mean I'm a little better
Sponsored
looking
by
than
Bart. This is it.
before I was into the track?
Yeah, you should
I'm
be.
just a little
You
bit.
see how
better
dorky he looked before he went and excelled at MB2.
No,
Yeah, I was wearing my hat like this, and now I wear my hat.
But for real, I mean, Max is just one of those freaks of nature. Honestly, like he's just.
Are you talking about his rear end now? What are you talking about?
Yeah. No, like in sim racing. So that's not something that we've really talked about a whole lot here on the show. And Ed's right, exactly. What's sim racing?
Not-
We'll get to that. I'm not gonna
It's just racing on a simulator. Racing on your computer.
on your computer. Sure.
But at a very high level of simulation.
yes,
Not easy.
which a lot of professional drivers use to train. Actually,
Okay.
it doesn't quite prepare you physically in the same way. You're not feeling the same forces like you would in a car, but it helps you learn the track better. It helps you kind of prepare and understand some things because the tracks in the simulators are the fidelity is excellent. Like it's showing all the different bumps and
We were talking about that
different
today on
kinds of surface.
NASCAR. That's what they were talking about today on XM
Oh yeah.
XM90 plug XM90 and XM90. They were saying like they've been in the simulator to look at Chicago.
Oh right.
So
Right,
so
right,
there are some professional sim racers out there who don't or have tried actually being in a real car and they're poop. And vice versa. A lot of the guys that race professionally try sim racing and they're not so good because it's just different. And I've done a little bit of sim racing and it's different in the sense that, like I say, you don't feel it. And so if you can't like put your head in the right space to like pretend to feel it,
Mhm.
you might be shit at it. I'm not great at it for sure. Like I can play Forza, but I use a controller. Like I'm not.
I'm excited
Anyway,
to try this new spot.
Yeah,
over there, find
there's-
out what's going on in Pasadena. I think it's Pasadena.
Anyway, suffice to say, I know we digressed here, but Max is not only possibly the best driver in the world, like he's literally one of the top 5 sim racers in the world. And total different situation, but also computer based. He's one of the best FIFA soccer EA Sports console
Really?
game players in the world.
Wow.
Just in his off time. He's like he was in the top 20
That's
best
not fair.
FIFA players of period
It's
in the
not
world.
fair. And then
Right,
plus,
just-
plus he's got the best car in the world.
like I said, just freak of nature. Max is hitting on every cylinder, like many people have in Formula One through the years. He absolutely murdered it in the race. Fernando and Lewis provided a great race for second and third.
Yep.
The rest of the whole field was, again, like we've discussed before, was all over the place. Like it was great racing, aside from Max just absolutely murdering everybody else. Nico Hulkenberg in the rain qualified second initially
Got a penalty.
from Haas. Got a penalty for impeding, which kind of, but whatever they called it. So he qualified fifth ultimately. What?
I'll save it. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Finish it up, but I have something to say about.
Yeah,
penalties.
I was just gonna say, aside from Max just absolutely skunking everybody, great race. Other than that, I think it was a dry race. Probably would have been a little bit more interesting in the wet, like qualifying was. But yeah, just more great racing from Formula One.
And
Aside from the top
okay.
being so.
NASCAR is in talks, by the way. NASCAR is in talks to bring
Oh, to race in
bring
Montreal.
Cup
Mhm.
to Montreal.
Mhm.
They've brought Xfinity has raced there and had great racing there, and now these cars are coming. Okay,
And they've raced in the rain there too. Actually,
yes, they have
which was
like crazy.
definitely a shit show.
Yeah, it's crazy,
But
but
fun anyway.
it was fun. So, as a segue, so a couple of things. Listening to XM90 this week, they had Todd Bodine. Do you know what Todd Bodine is?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so Todd
The
Bodine
Onion,
was-
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They call him the Eddie because he's freaking You know, he looks like an onion. So Todd Bodine was on. He was a guest on XM90. And it was
He's got a lot of emotional layers.
okay. All right. So here's the thing, though. They asked him about penalties. They asked him about penalties, and they asked him about what he thought about all this rash of penalties and stuff that's been going on in NASCAR, and whether or not this should be the way they should police themselves or not. And he said, "I am the wrong person to ask." And I didn't know what he meant. Well, no, this is the thing. I said I did not understand what he meant because I don't know enough about Todd Bodine to know. But what he said was, "I'm the wrong person to ask about this because absolutely, of course, they should be calling penalties during the race as they go. This is racing; it's not wrecking." And he was talking about how much he feels that sim racing and Zoom meetings that are taking place right now that came out of the pandemic, that the sim racing, the Zoom meetings instead of in-person meetings is creating an environment on the track, especially with the trucks, where guys are just driving through one another, thinking that crashes have no consequences, and that they don't have relationships with the paddock anymore because they're doing Zoom meetings instead of in-person meetings. So you don't have to look at the mother bro that you ran over the last week in the meeting. You don't have to be like, "Oh, hey, what's up? What's up, man?"
You don't have to face.
You don't have to face
literally
that.
don't have to face.
You just have to look at your camera, and they're looking at their camera. And nobody has to do anything. Then you get in the race car or the truck, and you don't have to deal with it. And it was really interesting that he said that he feels that the in-person meetings must come back, that they should be calling penalties. And I thought that was really interesting.
So there's a couple segues from that before we get to the political side of things and how
we still have to do IndyCar, which we'll do fast.
Well, that's where I'm going to go with it actually, because that's a great segue because this last weekend in IndyCar at Road America, which is one of the great American tracks. It's in Wisconsin. It's like 4.5 miles, which is one of the biggest tracks in America.
Amazing.
Beautiful track.
I've
Repaved
there, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
We did a 12-hour there in Firestone Firehawk endurance racing with a Saturn SC2 with Gary Lippert.
Wow.
Gary, we're friends on Facebook still, and Gary's little kid is racing go-karts right now. But Gary Lippert raced a Saturn SC2 in the Firestone Firehawk series. And we crewed out there, and we were a support series for IndyCar at Road America.
That's amazing.
Anyway,
that's amazing.
Little piece of
that's very cool. Road America is amazing, one of the great American tracks.
Yeah.
People. It's been folks have been racing there since the '60s, if I remember correctly, maybe the '50s even, in Wisconsin. And it was very. So the segue here being. There were a couple of incidents with the repaving of the track this year. Not with the repaving itself. The drivers loved the repaving of the circuit. However, Will Power, one of the notable entrants in the series at Penske and two-time champion, most winningest pole driver of all time in Indy.
He had a weekend.
He had an interesting week. He had a more dramatic weekend than normal, and he during one of the practice sessions, he got taken out by Scott Dixon, who is the most winningest, maybe not the most winningest driver yet, but one of the most winningest, and 6 championships, if I remember correctly.
I don't remember.
5 or 6, anyway.
Yes.
Scott Dixon, one of the best drivers ever, made an error and also didn't get the support he needed from his spotters and radio folks, and they had an incident in practice that was very dangerous, and Will Power got clobbered into the wall. Both cars got wrecked, and Will was absolutely incensed and threw the double bird again on for the second time in his career,
and shoved
got into Dixie's face.
He should be eliminated from the series.
So and then
he shoved another driver,
and then
he's a danger.
Right.
I'm very scared of people like him.
It's probably a hate crime. Australian New Zealander relations.
Australians, they should be out of the series. Get them out of the series.
So
scary people.
So that happened, and then he also had almost had an incident with Roman Grosjean during another practice session where Roman kind of did a fade and wasn't paying attention and almost put. I think that blew that a little bit out of proportion. Regardless,
he was just pissed off.
Another moment, but then in qualifying, Will went off track, pushing hard. through the carousel, which is a famous corner at Road America, and went off track and off track. While they resurfaced the track, the asphalt, they did not resurface or care for the off track areas where the curbs and also the grass. So there were lots of hillocks and bumps and potholes and stuff that are in the grass off the track. So that can be dangerous for the drivers, can be dangerous for the cars, because once you get off the beautifully smooth racing surface, you're going for a roller coaster ride, and that can truly be dangerous for the drivers. So he made that very abundantly clear in his after the session, and said this track, and he was clear, and a lot of people didn't quite make the distinction, and came down on him hard about this, because he said that the surface off the track was shit, and the track is shit, and he made that very clear on national television, and because he went offline and his car just about
It's the culture of those
almost
people.
went flying, and he said you can break your back going out here if you go off the track,
Well,
which there's some legitimacy to that for sure. So subsequently, the track owner, because they just did this beautiful repaving of the circuit, the track owner, heard that Will Power had said that his track is shit. So he took a lavatory truck that empties out the porta potties, and parked it directly adjacent to Will Power's RV. Left it there. I don't know if it was overnight or just parked it that morning. Doesn't matter.
those things smell.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
death incarnate kind
Yeah.
of thing. And so Will Power, of course, they left the keys in the truck. Apparently, Will Power got into the truck and drove it down to Scott Dixon's RV and left it right next to Scott Dixon's RV. So lots of coming from what we were talking about in terms of folks not talking to each other, and not communicating well, and that resulting in incidents on track. Scott and Will, Will was super pissed off at the time, but they did talk afterwards, and they made clear, or at least Will made intonated that we're good, everything's fine, we talked, it's we know that there wasn't any kind of malicious intent or anything like that. But that's
It seemed
they're
like,
all in
if you watch
at the moment.
if you watch the end car, you'd be like, "What? This
Well,
guy did this
he
to me
had-
purposely."
Yeah, it looked bad.
Yeah. He didn't do it.
But anyway, to the point before about what Todd Bodine was saying, they in the IndyCar paddock, because there's only 25 to 30 drivers, and it's a little bit more intimate setting, I guess, perhaps. Maybe I'm kind of pushing a little bit there, but the IndyCar drivers, it's a different form of racing. In NASCAR, it's closed wheeled versus open wheeled in IndyCar. IndyCar is inherently more dangerous because you have your wheels exposed. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, it's as simple as that. And so the drivers have maybe a little bit more
And
respect for each other.
formerly, the driver was exposed as well.
Sure, exactly.
Like,
exactly.
Now they're not.
Up
as
until
exposed.
just 2 years ago or a year ago, the drivers were fully exposed. They had nothing around them. It was just air hitting helmet. And now they have a windscreen, which definitely protects them a lot more.
Yeah.
And the halo integrated within it to protect them. But for all through history up until 2021, I think it was, the driver was exposed to the elements, and there were many drivers that died because of that.
Wow.
And so the drivers had a respect, and still have a respect for each other, that I would argue is higher than a lot of folks in NASCAR, because NASCAR, you can beat, like, that's part of NASCAR's shtick, is that you can beat and bang and rubbins racing, and the bump and run is part of what's traditional to win the race. And
So
that is
yeah.
not the case
No.
in open wheel racing.
So what Todd said, which is interesting, his whole thing was, he said, "Hey, the thing that he sees in other series, such as Formula One and IndyCar, is that they bring drivers into the
Right,
marshals room.
they do.
So he's like, this is what has to happen." He's like, you have to bring, he believes you have to bring drivers into the marshal's room, and you have to, because the driver is going to look at it and say, that was on purpose.
Right.
Because it is
know
there's
there's-
difficult to understand that often. Was that with intent? Was that not with intent? Like, what was the deal going on with that? And that's why they
Or
avoid
even
making
even
these
if it
calls.
wasn't on intent, like they understand like what's going through the driver's mind at the moment.
Yeah.
And like how they're interacting with the car and the race conditions and whatever else is happening. Like they know they can make there's the race marshals that are making the official decisions, but the driver provides a
context.
the context to the
Yeah.
situation for sure.
So that was his suggestion. I think that's a pretty good suggestion.
Agreed.
Because he was saying like, you don't always take yourself out when you take somebody else out, and that those calls should be made in the moment.
Yeah.
They should lose. They should
And-
have those
And
kind of
it's to be abundantly clear, it's you pull from a cadre of very experienced drivers.
Yeah.
Former champions, or folks that have been around the sport for decades, folks that understand the ins and outs and can look at anything for a second and be like, oh, I know exactly what just happened.
Yeah.
So there's some I think there's some. I agree. I hadn't heard those comments from Todd. but
Yeah,
I
he
agree.
just had them. I think it was Friday. It was on Friday, and he was like very straightforward and bold, and like, yeah, it was interesting how he started. I'm not the right person to ask. I thought he was going to say, because I run all kinds of people over, and but it was the exact opposite. He was like,
Yeah.
no, I have a very firm opinion
Yeah.
that this is called racing. It's not called wrecking.
Yeah.
And this is, our sport is not wrecking other people to win.
And
That is
Todd's-
not the sport.
Todd is a championship
He's a champion,
driver.
yeah.
He won the championship in the truck series. He raced in Cup and Xfinity or Nationwide or Bush or whatever it was called at the time that he was that he was in the series.
Camel.
And he was we're going into there
Winston
now.
Camel.
Yeah, so definitely a respected opinion from him. So that's interesting.
So Road America, basically we had
the
we had
actual what happened.
Pelot won. Now thanks to
3
you.
plus 4.
By the way, thanks to you. I've met him, and so have my children. He's last year's champion. And Billy and Ethan met him, and he came up behind. It was really funny because they were there trying to meet other people.
Yeah.
But he came behind them at Long Beach, and he was like, "Hey boys," and and they were like, "Oh hi," and they didn't really know who he was. He was like, "Who's gonna win today? Who do you think's gonna win today?" And they were like, "You, of course." Like they kind of, you guys, right? Do you guys remember meeting Pelot? Yeah. So they met Pelot. But anyway, he ended up having a dominating performance, but it came out of
Almost
came out of nowhere in a way.
I think he and Herta, so Colton Herta truly had a dominating performance.
Yeah.
Should have won.
He should have won the race.
Won the pole and led 30, I think he had 33, 35 laps.
30, and there's only 25 laps there because it's
So,
such a long lap.
Was doing very well, and his team just botched the last pit stop and had him come in a lap earlier than he should have.
Yeah, he had to say
And we don't understand. No one knows why, except for the team. He legitimately lost the race because he had to conserve an extra lap of fuel that no one else had to, and there was no reason for them to do that.
So in the aftermath, does anybody come forward and say is there an analysis of
That-
this, or is it just?
So
sure.
we the commentators and the folks associated with the sport all knew it as it was happening, like it was live. The commentators were like, "What are they doing?
Mm.
Why would they do this?" And as the race was happening, Colton he went from easily winning. He was like 5 seconds up, I think, on Pelot. Something like that. At least 3 seconds up on
Yeah,
Pelot
maybe.
after the pit stop.
Well, he
and then-
had gone behind him due to a pit stop, and then he passed him on track, and then he gapped him on track. So he had the winning car. I mean, that was clear.
He had a clear margin of victory, and then after the last pit stop, he had to save an extra lap of fuel. No one else had to save fuel, and he had to save a lap's worth of fuel, which
Yeah,
means, and the only way that you can do that is to coast. And coasting and racing don't jive, right?
Mhm.
As you learned tonight, right?
No, you
Yeah.
floor it and you
It's
don't let up
foot
until the
down.
race is over.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
he
Maybe at natural speed.
he legit unless you have Ed's natural speed. No one can quite comprehend what the heck happened there, except for a strategy mistake. Like it just mistakes happen, and so he went from winning to finishing. It was fifth, I think. He ended up fifth. Not even on the podium. Yeah. So Pelot, it was the two of them really. It was going to be one or the other that ended up winning. Pelot won by like 5 seconds or something over.
But the racing
rest.
throughout that race was so intense. I mean, it was
The-
incredible.
The new
racing throughout
surface
the
was
field-
great, and the drivers were able to really push hard. There was a lot of aggression. We talked about aggression, what aggression means on track tonight. Because with Ed's newfound speed, he made some contact in some of his passes.
You know, when you're dealing with people who obviously don't belong there, I don't know what else you could do. You move them out of your way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's certainly what you do on Laurel Canyon at
Yeah.
75 miles an
Yeah,
hour
right,
going
right,
downhill, right?
In your Volvo.
In your Volvo.
Yeah. No, there's definitely a lot of folks getting pushed out wide and some minor contact in the race, which was exciting, but also a little hairy at times. But there was lots of passing. There was lots of drivers that were moving up and down the field. Our picks didn't end up winning. I think Pato finished top 5. I think
he had podium.
yeah, he was on the
third.
podium. Scotty McLaughlin didn't
But he came
match
forward.
up like a thing. He moved
Eighth.
forward from
Did he have
like
eighth?
18th
Yeah,
to
18th,
8th.
Yeah.
So he had a solid race, but not quite at the top. Very, very fun racing once again from Indy. So before we go to the next topic here, real quick on picks for next week, we have IMSA's 6 hours at the Glen.
Yeah.
And NASCAR Chicago.
No, Nashville.
Oh, is it Nashville? Okay,
Nashville
sorry.
next year.
Excuse me.
Chicago's
You're
next.
right.
Next year.
Sorry.
Nashville.
Nashville for Cup. IMSA at the Glen for 6 hours. I think Indy has the week off, if I remember right, and F1.
Where's F1?
I'll double check on F1. You go for picks real quick.
All right, so well, Nashville. You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna pick Bubba at Nashville.
Bubba!
I'm gonna pick Bubba at Nashville.
I'm gonna pick Bubba at Nashville.
Are you?
Yeah.
I'm going to pick Bubba and Nash.
Double.
Holy crap! We can
No.
watch together.
I was gonna
we
say
can suffer. We can suffer together. We can
watch
rejoice
a race
together.
I was gonna say double Bubba, but now it's triple Bubba. so-
Triple Bubba.
Triple Bubba.
All right. Well, this is, and honestly, I haven't picked him to win. So
And though we have watched a race in the stands together, we have never watched a race together.
that's true, and we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that this week. I hope we can make that happen.
So
is that- so
so
that's-
that's work this weekend.
so
but
that's
we'll see.
NASCAR?
We'll see. All right, so NASCAR.
So that's NASCAR. We're all picking
Triple
Bubba.
Sounds
Holy
fun.
crap! What the heck?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's kind of fun.
F1's the following weekend.
Oh, so there's no F1 this weekend.
no F1 this weekend.
No F1 this weekend.
But
the IMSA at the Glen.
we have IMSA at the Glen, and there's also I don't think we can make any picks because we don't know anyone that's running in it. But the Pikes Peak Hill Climb is also this weekend, which is a hell of an event. We'll talk more about it next week.
You should watch that. If
yeah,
you can watch
Pikes
something.
Peak.
If you want to watch something
Racing.
interesting, you can watch some guys racing.
Pikes Peak Hill
Men and
Climb.
women.
Yeah, and Isle of Man are two of the
Uh,
craziest events in the absolute world.
Honestly, I can't watch the Isle of Man because too many people die there.
Oh, it's terrifying.
It makes me
Terrifying.
It makes me sad. I can't watch that.
Um,
It's a motorcycle race, like where they
Oh,
go on these.
well, I'll show you a video
Anyway,
Um,
but yeah, I'm over that.
crazy,
particular race.
crazy, like in the same vein of like how racing, much of racing was back in the 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, where people died like all the time. That's what the Isle of Man still is today for motorcycles. Just
motorcycle.
crazy,
Yeah,
crazy
Rossman's
stuff.
on motorcycles. I don't
Wow.
like it.
Okay, so but Pikes Peak, Jensen Button will be there in
Yes.
the Radford
Not really.
62-2, I think is the name of the car. Very cool. I don't know if it's going to be competitive for the overall win, but very cool event. Okay, so picks.
So in IMSA.
We already talked about NASCAR.
Can I just pick a mark?
Yeah.
Because I don't know who's driving.
It's fine.
All right.
Well,
Well, let's hope. So patronizing. So patronizing. Okay, so yeah, I don't really know. Well, I just hope a Cadillac can win. I mean, I'm gonna root for Cadillac because I'm kind of a homer
Okay.
for America.
Fair enough.
I would like to see a Cadillac win.
Fair enough.
Acura's in there too, right?
So
Porsche
there's
is in there.
So yeah, we got Porsche, Acura, Cadillac, and I'm gonna have a brain fart here for a second. I'll think of it in a moment.
But I would like to see Cadillac win. This is my home track. This is the track that I first turned a wheel in anger at, which was Watkins Glen International Raceway in a Saab 9000 Turbo 5-speed with
That's a
D2
hell of a car.
with Dunlop
I've driven one
D2
of those.
yeah with Dunlop D2 M40s
Mm.
on some MSW 5-spoke wheels.
Mm.
Ran that there. That was my first time racing at 16 years old. And
Whoa, I didn't realize you've been racing that long.
well, I mean, I didn't do anything hardly since then, but it was a big, huge gap until I came to LA and started racing go-karts. But I went there
Yeah.
and my dad wrecked the car. We drove it home with a bent panhard rod, like
Damn it,
one,
Dad.
one wheel like this.
Yeah.
Because he spun it in the 90 and
Oh, really?
it caught.
Yeah.
And the panhard rod in the Saab 9000 Turbo is like basically just a piece of stamped steel. It's like not
So
super weak
It's just
and
been
just like that.
lovely.
Anyway, yeah, sad.
Lovely.
But anyway, yeah. So I would like to see a Cadillac win. That's just my whatever. That's just my homerism.
Sure. So I'll go with pardon me. 6 hours. I'm gonna say I think I picked them last time as well, but I'll go again and say the Wayne Taylor Acura will take it this time.
No.
And in GT, I'll say that the Lexus guys are gonna pull it off this time.
We know a guy who's involved with the Lexus team that we raced out at Cal Speed.
Yeah.
I'm gonna forget his name right now, but yeah, he's involved. He's like one of their top guys.
A guy we know from the Lexus team that we
That's
raced
terrible.
out at Cal Speed.
Why even mention it when you don't remember his name? Anyway, so
That choked on my story too. So I've been there, buddy. I've been there.
I'm just gonna blame it on the dog.
This is the dog's fault. Yeah.
Anyway,
That dog.
we actually drank a whole bottle of wine during this particular episode. It's very good.
This doesn't help your natural speed.
All right. Well, honestly, how much time? When did we start?
I don't know.
I
It's
feel like we should just quit.
10,
Like, why do
30.
politics?
in theory.
This is
Uh,
super fun. The
it
whole
was
day
super
was
fun.
super fun. We should just end it here.
I will bring.
Oh, you
I will
have
bring
to
one
okay,
thing.
Bring it up. Bring it up. Bring it.
It's politically affiliated. So, an important American hero passed away this last Friday. I don't know if you're
Yes.
familiar. I think you probably are. I'm sure you're familiar with the name at least. On June 16th, Daniel Ellsberg passed away. Leaker of the Pentagon Papers
Oh, right.
and
I read.
publisher, or excuse me, not publisher, author of a couple of books on the nuclear program, and there's he passed away from pancreatic cancer. I think he said at the age of 92, if I remember correctly, 91, 92. But a true American patriot, true American hero, that paved the way for people calling truth to power. At the time in the 70s, in 71, when he leaked the Pentagon Papers to the New York Times, and he had been working for the Rand Corporation, had been working for the Pentagon and for the administration, and realized the lies that were pushing the war in Vietnam all the way from the very beginning, and realized that it was his duty as a human to ethically, morally, however you want to put it, realized that he needed to call for what it was. And there are not many times in history, truly, where a man changed the course of history by a singular act of bravery, where he could have gone to prison for the rest of his life. He could have been put to death, even potentially for being a traitor to the nation, as he was often painted throughout his life, not even just then, but for decades after. And from there, the Watergate scandal was born, and President Nixon was eventually removed from office because of, in part, Daniel Ellsberg. So a man that had bravery where few ever have when against the establishment, political parties and political arms within our country. And all the way through the rest of his life, he stood up for what he felt was morally and ethically correct. And there's an article that just came out in Politico, I think a month or two ago. That was like his last interview before he passed away, and he put forth a couple of other ideas and concepts that he believed were important. I won't get into them right now because they're. I would want to be more. I want to make sure that I was giving it the due diligence of saying specifically what he said. But article worth reading. There's a video, kind of a eulogy of sort, or not a eulogy, but
like a retrospective.
A retrospective of sorts from Glenn Greenwald that I'll share with you guys, and we can maybe put in the video comments here to take a look at what Mr. Ellsberg brought to our country, and the way that he was able to truly, literally save thousands, millions of people potentially, based on the way that our policy in Vietnam was continuing, and how his bravery in the face of potential ruin of his own personal life, could have taken place. And I mean, there was a Supreme Court case. There was all of the drama that associated with taking a stand against the malicious forces within the government. He stood against. So in memoriam, Mr. Ellsberg, thank you for what you did for us, all of us.
Right on. Outstanding.
I think we should leave it there.
Yeah, I do too. I mean,
We'll link that in the comments and or in the description. Sure. We'll link that stuff. You can supply what you'd like to do on that.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can maybe we'll revisit that. Maybe we can chat about that next week. Sure. When we get back together again.
Yeah.
Well, this has been super awesome. Thank you very much for that. The stuff on with Daniel Ellsberg. Really appreciate that. Sure. We'll be taking a look at that myself as well. This has been super fun. Thanks for hanging out, everybody.
You're welcome.
And thanks for driving up. Holy crap, you drove in from San Diego just to be here, just to hang out together. This man came from North Carolina after being ravaged by a wild beast.
A wild beast.
16
pounds.
Well, that's honestly, that's not small. That's not a small cat.
No, and I got the full brunt of it.
He overcame this evil attack to show his true natural speed.
That's right. The malevolence, and then that you overcame.
Yeah.
All right. And then so thank you for joining us. This has been week 11, Pistons and Politics. Thoughts from the intersection of motor and oh my god, I'm drunk. Motor and state. Yay! Sorry.
Wait, let's let it go. It up.